In this video, we're going to talk about how to tell if your ex has moved on. But first, my name is Clay with ModernLove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you are not, because you deserve to be loved for the unique, amazing, and wonderful person that you are. And if you agree with me, do me a favor by hitting that thumbs up button and by subscribing to this channel down below, maybe if you're new. Also, I wanted to let you know that we do, of course, have our email newsletter. You can find a link to that down below in the description box for this video. It's totally free to sign up. I give you a nice little report when you sign up. It kind of goes over and pulls apart a lot of common myths, a lot of common things that people think are true or that they need to do when they're trying to get back together with their ex after a breakup that are not necessarily true. And you'll also get tips, advice, and strategies from me on how to, start to make progress with your ex. But that is down below in the description box. So yeah, once again, this video here isn't going to have all the fancy graphics and everything. I'm still waiting to get some of the other videos that I recorded back from the woman that usually edits our videos. So you just have to deal with my fumbling little editing abilities here. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and get into the content for this video. So the first way you can tell if your ex has moved on is if they are no longer emotionally reacting to you, but they can genuinely respond to you in a calm and rational sort of way. And you want to be careful about this because oftentimes your ex may try and fake this sort of disinvested, calm, neutral, I have it all under control kind of vibe. But if it's just sort of like plastered on, if you can tell that they're faking it, that's definitely one thing versus if they, genuinely have like this, disinvested kind of vibe to them when it comes to, you coming up in conversation, maybe between them and mutual friends, or you kind of, presenting yourself in their life through calling them or texting them or something like that. If they just seem kind of like disinvested and it's not just them trying to posture and pretend like they couldn't care less, but really you kind of know that they do because maybe some other activities that they've been doing recently or something like that, that lets you know that they've moved on. The second way you can tell if your ex has moved on is if they have a new intentional direction in their life that is not about going back to something old or about deliberately pushing away something that they had with you or something else in their life in order to like get into something that's the polar opposite of it, but they're sort of intentionally choosing it. They're sort of like rationally thinking this out, rationally using their emotions and saying like, hey, what I really want right now in my life is this. And yeah, it's totally possible to use previous experience, previous relationships to inform choices that you're going to make in the future. But if it's if they're not over you, they're going to be making these on a really kind of impulsive, emotional way where it's almost kind of like this, pushing or chasing energy that's going after it. Whereas if it's intentional, they're really just kind of like deliberately choosing and taking sort of like one methodical step after another, okay? The third way you can tell if your ex has moved on is if they genuinely seem to love their life. And I want to make a distinction here because oftentimes after someone breaks up with you, they may seem really happy, right? And that's because obviously if they broke up with you, there were issues that they were having with the relationship. And as the breakup is sort of initially unfolding, they might feel a sense of happiness in their life because whatever those issues were are removed, right? So there's no more arguing, there's no more trust issues, there's no more miscommunication, there's no more whatever it was that was causing them to not be happy with you. And so they might initially feel a sense of happiness, but oftentimes that will kind of fade away as they kind of get back into normal day-to-day life. And, they might miss you a lot. They might be heartbroken. They might feel all sorts of different things, but that's a topic for another time. But if they genuinely do start to, love their life with or without you in it, then that shows that they have kind of emotionally moved on. And it's not a bad thing if they've moved on, by the way, asterisks here. You want your ex to actually move on if you want to create a new relationship with them, because that way they're not just kind of like panicking and getting back together with you because they miss you. They're actually intentionally choosing to be in a relationship with you. Point number 2 I just went over a few minutes ago is that they're intentionally choosing things in their lives. And if they've moved on, they can intentionally choose to get back together with you, not out of fear, not out of scarcity, not out of lack, but because they genuinely want to have a relationship with you. That's actually a good thing. So in that sort of respect, you do want your ex to move on. Now, before we go ahead, I do want to let you know that we have this whole series on what your ex is thinking, what they're going through, what their experience is. You can check that out up there in a video card, which I'll put up there while I'm using my very savvy and sophisticated video editing skills. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get back into point number 4 that you can tell that your ex has moved on. And that is if your ex is getting into a new relationship that is not a reaction to the past, but seems to be based on a genuine connection with someone else and is paced at a reasonable rate. Now, we've talked about rebound relationships in the past, and oftentimes your ex may get into a rebound relationship with someone who is very similar to you. That's a red flag right there. Or someone who is the exact polar opposite to you in some capacity. That is also a red flag. It means that either one of those relationship situations is based on the relationship that they had with you. It's really weird, but they are in effect still in a relationship with you, but without you being in it. Very weird, very strange, but I've seen it happen many, many, many times. If, on the other hand, they're not doing that, but they are just creating a new relationship with someone else that's just, like a normal relationship, somebody who may have some aspects of them that are similar to you, some aspects that are different. Nothing's like, okay, like I was dating a nice guy, now I'm going to date a bad boy. But it's like, okay, now I'm going to date someone who, whatever they are. That could definitely be a sign that they are moving on. And, it also needs to be kind of like paced at a reasonable sort of rate. Oftentimes with rebound relationships, there's a certain thing called psychological displacement where the relationship is kind of fast forwarded up to approximately the same level of commitment that they had with you. So if you and your ex were talking about, I don't know, maybe getting engaged or something, and suddenly with their rebound relationship, they're suddenly talking about getting engaged after only like a couple weeks or months or something. Very, very clear rebound relationship sign right there. But if the relationship is sort of evolving and progressing at kind of a reasonable pace for however long they've been together, for whatever is reasonable for your ex and their situation and all that, then that could also be a sign that this is like not just a rebound relationship, but it could be them kind of like emotionally moving on, okay? And that brings us to the 5th sign that your ex has moved on, and that is if they do not seem emotionally invested in whether you succeed or fail in life. They might wish you well. They might, but they're not going to like go out of their way to like be your cheerleader. Okay, there's a lot of like strange emotional things that people can do in terms of how they relate to their ex after a breakup. They might try and prop that person up. They might try and talk them up. I've talked about that in, I think it was yesterday's video. They also might try and put that person down. They might also try and talk poorly about that person, or put them down in some sort of way so that they can start to feel superior, they can start to feel righteous in their decision to break up or something like that. But if that is not happening and they're just kind of like, yeah, our relationship didn't work out, and I wish them well, but I'm not going to like go out of my way to cheerlead them on. I'm not going to go out of my way to kick them down when they start to pull themselves up or anything like that. That can really show that they're starting to move on and that they're able to actually relate to you in a more reasonable and rational sort of way. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if you do want to get back together with your ex, the best place to do this is from a point of both you and your ex having had moved on from the breakup, because then both of you are able to actually relate to one another in a calm, rational, and normal sort of way. You're not just sort of like bouncing back into the old dynamic, or trying to relive the past, or using like fumes of nostalgia to keep the relationship strong, but you're actually able to do something that is like legitimately an intentional creation that both of you are co-creating together. Maybe that sounds a little bit woo-woo, but I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit woo-woo. But anyway, I hope that helps you out. Once again, if you want to get on our email newsletter, totally free, get that free report. The link for that is down in the description box below. But thank you so much for watching this video. Please take care. Please give this video a thumbs up. please subscribe to this channel if you're not already. And you may want to check out this video series over here on what your ex is thinking, what their experience, what their journey is like for them. Or you might want to check out this auto-generated video over here by the YouTube algorithm that YouTube thinks you would be very interested in. Anyway, take care. Please stay safe out there, and we'll talk again soon.